You are making sense, but I think that's one of the great things about your show is that you combine this amazing music that has this incredible history to it with all of these messages and with all of these visuals. And I think you got a lot of attention during the Trump administration because of the flying Trump pigs and all the other the visuals that you did. People loved it. But then when you put up a photograph of Biden and said he was a war criminal, then people were like, wait a minute. You're on the wrong side now. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, well, let's see what happens, shall we? Before we come to a final conclusion about Biden. As I said in the Schmerkonish interview, I said there's something criminal. It is criminal not to be trying to end the war in Ukraine, but just by trying to pour weapons into it. Just pouring weapons into the Ukraine. Ukrainian people can't beat Russia in a war on the ground, however many weapons you give them. They're just cannon fodder. That policy shows that Joe Biden and Antony Blinken and the administration and whoever is pulling their strings, to go all conspiracy theory for a minute, couldn't give an F about the Ukrainian people. They couldn't care less how many of them. They've said so. I saw, what's his name? Not McConnell. Lindsey Graham. I saw him in an interview the other night going, we are going to help the Ukrainians fight to the death.
Jesus.
He said it in an interview on a television station. And you go, what, their death? Well, I mean, I wasn't there, so I couldn't. But that's what he means, yeah. Let them fight. Who cares? They never cared about a Ukrainian before. Why should we care about them now? Well, the answer is because it suits the geopolitical aspirations of the people who buy the election that you were talking about.
Yeah.
They're weakening Russia so that they can become the unipolar, the hegemony can produce, again, this. They can rule the world. They want to rule the world. They said so back in the 90s. Paul Wolfowitz told Wesley Clark in the Pentagon, face to face, we are going to destroy 7 countries in the next 5 years. Wesley Clark's gone public about it. We all know it because he's told us all. And people go, well, so what?
Yeah, that speech where he discusses that. But let's play that because it's very powerful.
Yeah.
Pull up that Wesley Clark, the discussion where he talks about the 7 countries, how they laid it out. And a lot of that has already been put into motion.
Absolutely.
But there was a plan.
Syria's almost gone. The Yemen's pretty well gone. Iran is the big. Somalia's gone. I can't remember what the others were, but we'll find out in a minute.
That was an eye opener for people because you're listening to a general, and he's discussing this.
Well, the general is relating the story.
Yes.
It was told to him by an Undersecretary of State at the Pentagon,
right.
whatever Wolfowitz was at the time. I can't remember.
Right. So you're listening to someone who is one of the people that actually gets to discuss these things with the people that pull the strings.
Yeah.
And he's relaying it to us. So let's play.
10 days
So
after
this is
9/11,
retired U.S. General Wesley Clark. Wars were planned 7 countries in 5 years on YouTube.
I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and
Rumsfeld.
Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the joint staff who used to work for me. And one of the generals called me and he said, "Sir, you got to come in. You got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, No. He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They've just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran.
Wild. Wild.
Yeah.
Just wild to hear him lay that out.
Yeah.